Coming up, Kazakh mayors and governors will be obliged to create 100 new jobs for every 10,000 residents yearly. What measures is the government developing to implement the president's instructions? Stay tuned. Up to $500,000. This is how much investment the best IT startups in Central Asia will be able to attract. Business people from the US and Europe are willing to sponsor new projects. Say no to knee pain. Kazakh scientists presented unique know-how, namely the stem cell-based hydrogel. The mixture restores joints without surgery. Details next. Europe is ready to support the construction of a new Kazakhstan. The country is an important partner for the European Union in Central Asia. This was stated by the EU representatives at a meeting with Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs Mukhtar Tleubirdi. The ambassadors of the Union's member states and the head of Kazakh Foreign Ministry discussed issues of further strengthening cooperation, including investment, trade and economic, cultural and humanitarian ties. The minister informed the European side about the main approaches to democratic transformations, and the head of the EU delegation to Kazakhstan in turn stressed that the Union intends to support further development of the country, especially political reforms. Kazakh mayors and governors will be obliged to create at least 100 jobs for every 10,000 residents annually, Prime Minister Alixan Smailov announced at the government's meeting. He also outlined a number of other tasks assigned by the head of state. They touched upon the economic and social bloc, the real sector, the conservation of natural resources, agriculture, trade, healthcare, and business development in the country. Thus, the work of the Atamikyan National Chamber of Entrepreneurs should switch to a different format, with a priority put on the protection and support of SMEs, the PM said. The Finance Ministry was instructed to speed up the work on the digitalization of budget planning processes by March 1st. The meeting also discussed the need to improve the quality and accessibility of medical care for every Kazakh citizens. To this end, it is first of all important to improve the infrastructure of medical organizations, providing them with modern equipment, Smailov said. The Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development was given a week to schedule visits to the enterprises of the automotive industry. Experts as well as media and public representatives are expected to go there. Smailov added that President Tokayev also instructed to abandon the implementation of unprofitable and inefficient projects. Increasing the income of our citizens and improving the quality of life of our people is the main task for us. It is also necessary to focus on developing a competitive and diversified economy. Each minister and mayor is personally responsible for the quality and efficiency of the measures taken. I instruct my deputies for the supervised industries and government agencies to ensure close coordination and control. Kazakhstan intends to increase the number of manufacturing industries. The Ministry of Industry plans to submit a set of measures aimed at stimulating their creation to the government in May. This was announced by the head of the department, Jibek during the government's meeting. The minister noted that work has already begun with mining and metallurgical enterprises. The number of key projects included 12 such productions. It will be engaged in the production of aluminum radiators, profiles, car discs, batteries, and cans for food. Kairat Uskembayev noted that the demand for base metals is growing all over the world today. Our country has a large raw material potential for alumina and copper concentrate, which is currently export-oriented. But now we are working on the issue of creating a new electrolysis and copper smelting plants for processing all alumina and copper concentrate produced in the country. This will allow increasing the production of primary metals, provide the necessary volume of raw materials to domestic processors in the medium and long-term perspective, as well as increase export revenue from its sale. The number of coronavirus infections in Kazakhstan has significantly decreased. Thus, over the past day, 1,173 people infected with COVID-19 were identified in the country. Almaty still has the highest single-day case count. 480 infected were identified there. Pavlodar region followed with 141 cases. North Kazakhstan region takes the third place with 95 coronavirus patients registered there. In general, since the beginning of the pandemic, the number of cases detected in the country has exceeded 1,292,000 2,000. According to Kazakh Health Ministry, more than 49,000 Kazakh residents continue to receive treatment for coronavirus. About 7,000 out of them are in hospitals. As of today, more than 8,884,000 people in Kazakhstan have been fully vaccinated with 2 components of anti-coronavirus drug. The number of new cases of coronavirus infections is decreasing in all American states. This was reported by Johns Hopkins University. In this regard, the country softens or even completely abolishes restrictions. Thus, 14 states abandoned one of the main measures to combat COVID-19, the mask regime. This means that under the condition of vaccination, it will be possible to visit public places. However, most Americans believe that sanitary safety rules should still be followed because the mortality and hospitalization rates are still too high to abandon this measure.
But on the subways, I ride the D line, and it seems like everybody on the D line is in compliance because they all have the mask on. Even like the little ladies, old ladies, when they see somebody without a mask, they be like, "You better put your mask on." So it's where I go. It's like people are used to wearing their mask, but I'm so used to wearing it that I think it's going to be a while before I start taking mine off on the outside. So people do what they want, but I'm going to still wear mine.
The United Kingdom may completely remove coronavirus restrictions. The authorities plan to take such a step in regard with the stabilization of the epidemiological situation in the country. By the end of the next month, patients may no longer be isolated, but they are advised not to leave the house. For some experts, this came as a surprise, since there are still unvaccinated people in the UK. However, according to epidemiologists, it is still too early to abandon protection measures. Earlier, wearing masks in confined spaces and transport has ceased to be mandatory in the UK. In addition, to attend some mass events, people no longer need to present a vaccination certificate.
Provided the current encouraging trends in the data continue, it is my expectation that we will be able to end the last domestic restrictions, including the legal requirement to self-isolate if you test positive, a full month early, Mrs.
Participants in the Freedom Convoy rally from France, the Netherlands, and Germany did not manage to get to Brussels. The police blocked their way. Law enforcement officers at the entrance to the Belgian capital redirected demonstrators to parking lots, which are located on the outskirts of the city. Truckers plan to hold protests banned by the Belgian authorities in European Quarter and at the NATO headquarters. Instead of 1,300 protesters announced the day before, only a few dozen people reached the center of the EU capital. The promised blockade of the main highways of Brussels by trucks and vans did not take place. Truckers oppose coronavirus restrictions and the consequences of the economic crisis. Our message, what we tell people around the world, is that what we are exposed to now is not normal, and we need to wake up. I'm here for my grandchildren. I'm not against vaccination, but mandatory vaccination is out of question. In 2023, Kazakhstan will introduce an interactive map of Child Well-being Index. With the help of the collected data, specialists will be able to monitor the effectiveness of national policies aimed at improving the situation of children in various spheres of life: education, health, security, social protection, infrastructure, ecology. It will be based on statistical data from various departments, the results of sociological research, anonymous questionnaires, and interviews. Child Well-being Index was approved by the order of Kazakh Prime Minister. Presently, work is underway to collect information.
Балалардың әл-ауқатының ұлттық мониторингі дегеніміз бұл жалпы Қазақстан Республикасындағы
The national monitoring of children's welfare is monitoring the improvement of the situation of more than 3 million children in Kazakhstan. The monitoring results will be embedded in our interactive map. The interactive map will be publicly available. Any citizen will be able to look at it.
Ашық ақпаратта балалардың жағдайының қандай екенін, қай өңірлерде қандай жағдайда тұрғанын кез келген азамат көре алатын болады.
The best technological IT startups in Central Asia will be able to attract up to $500,000 of investment. This will be facilitated by the Investment Readiness Accelerator Program, which will be launched on March 7th in Kazakhstan. Submission of application for innovators is now open. As the speakers noted, the program will consist of 3 parts and will be held both online and offline. Innovators will be able to get practical knowledge of legal support for startups, learn how to build an effective financial model of the project, learn how to compose a pitch deck, and much more. At the end of the program, participants will be able to present their startups not only to investors from Central Asia, but also from the United States and Europe.
Цель всего акселератора состоит в том, что мы знаем, что большинство
The
команд
goal of the entire accelerator is that we know that most teams do not even cease to exist because they create a product that no one needs. They create a product and, at the same time, do not find the first angel, the first financing, the first investment, so to speak. Hence, the team unfortunately dissolves, the members scatter. The problem is not that they created an unnecessary product. They simply did not find the first support. We've been observing this for many years, so we decided to create such a program.
первую поддержку, поэтому мы это наблюдаем уже много лет. Соответственно, мы решили создать вот эту программу.
A unique know-how from Kazakh scientists is a hydrogel from stem cells. The mixture is able to restore cartilaginous and bone tissue of the knee joint without surgery. According to the developers, the procedure is individual. Doctors perform a biopsy, seize the patient's stem cells. Then they are transferred to scientists who reproduce the samples to the desired amount. For example, to create 2 milliliters of gel, 20 million cells are needed.
Мы используем для того, чтобы сделать такую смесь с использованием.
We use them to make a mixture using the Duploject application system. The first test tube we fill with the first polymer, the second test tube with the second polymer. All this was first conducted as part of in vitro studies, i.e. in test tubes. Then we did a simulation of a cartilage defect in animals. All this was carried out in preclinical trials. We had 8 experimental groups. Experimentally, we found the most optimal combination, that is, the composition of this hydrogel in order for it to effectively repair defects in articular cartilage.
То есть состав этого гидрогеля для того, чтобы он эффективно восстанавливал дефекты суставного хряща.
In the absence of strict contraindications, there are no limitations in regards to age or sex, scientists say. Due to the chemical composition, the hydrogel can control the release of drugs. However, it does not cause allergies. Now the finished drug is undergoing clinical trials on a group of volunteers.
За 3 года мы достаточно убедительно показали, что стволовые клетки
Over the 3 years, we have shown quite convincingly that stem cells can be used to effectively repair defects in some cartilage erosions. We fully restore cartilage within 3 to 6 months, depending on the severity of the defect that needs to be repaired. Surgeons and doctors begin to form a trial group of patients. That's about 100 people.
Формированию испытательной группы пациентов. Это около 100 человек.
The first test results will be known this summer. Scientists plan to create similar hydrogels for the treatment of other joints.